Man, this is why it's so bad sometimes to wait to put out a word when you receive it. But at the time, my phone was dead, right? So I should have charged it and did it right away. But the Holy Spirit did give me additional details to yesterday's message, the one that I told you guys about. It's basically about isolation and separation. The video title has a caterpillar and a butterfly in it. But I want to just he mentioned something so important this morning, and I want to tell you guys what it is, okay? And it's going to make a lot of sense. When God puts you in a separation period or an isolation period, it's also for safety purposes, okay? Because sometimes when you're not aware of what's going on around you in the spiritual realm, and when you're not aware of specific gifts that you have, God will remove you from certain people, in order for you to start learning and growing in your gifts. And I talked about that in yesterday's video. However, another thing he mentioned to me this morning is that the reason why he also has you in a separation, isolation period is because of codependency. Because a lot of times, just remember something. We are born into families, okay? We're born alone, but we're born into families. And oftentimes we don't pick our families, okay? Not even oftentimes. We never pick our families. Our families are given to us from God. And oftentimes we will be born into a family that has a generational curse, a generational cycle going on. And because we have, grown up in these families, a lot of us carry on these generational curses and cycles. And if God is going to use us to break these cycles, we definitely have to go through a separation, isolation period, because this is how we're going to be able to break it. Because when we are alone and we only depend on God, and we're not codependent on anyone outside of God, then there's no distractions, okay? And also we'll receive the right information in order for us to fulfill God's will, and in order for us to elevate in light, and in order for us to break these generational curses. A lot of you guys, you were born into a family and you have been molded based on how people saw you in your family. So if they saw you as a bad child, you were molded into thinking you're a bad child. If they saw you into, a lazy child, you may have grown up thinking you're a lazy child. Whatever your family may have done to you, whether you were used as a scapegoat, or whether you were you were a black sheep, they ended up molding you into that person. Do you get what I'm saying? So when God pulls you away and puts you in an isolation, separation period, God is rebuilding you. It's like you are being reborn again. You are being renewed. You are being reborn again. It's like now you have to fight. You have to start growing again. Remember when you were born into your family? You had your mom or your dad or both parents, but you had them raising you, or grandmother, whoever raised you. But it's kind of like it's like they raised you up based on how they saw you. So you were not raised based on the type of characteristics you have, the types of gifts that you have, the types of traits that you have. Some of us, some people are born in families where their families are so supportive. They observe their children. They figure out what their children likes, what their children wants to do in their life. They notice their children's gifts and talents, and they end up revolving things around that child's life, revolving around their personality, their gifts and talents, etc. And these are what we call supportive parents, supportive families. Many of us did not grow up in supportive parenthood and supportive families, right? So we were molded into how their perception of us. Do you get what I'm saying? So now when you go into a separation period with God, it's kind of like you're being raised all over again. Do you get it? It's like you're being reborn, but God is raising you from scratch all over again. So it's like you're rediscovering who you are. You're rediscovering yourself. You're rediscovering your talents and gifts. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable, especially if you were used to a certain type of treatment, you're used to a certain type of lifestyle, you're used to certain things. It's going to feel uncomfortable being in this isolation and separation period, but this is how God breaks you away from that codependency of toxicity. Because oftentimes, a lot of us were codependent on toxicity, hence why we ended up going after relationships of the very people that mistreated us, just like we were treated in our family. We end up repeating that type of cycle. So when God removes you, it's because He is breaking generational curses. He is breaking cycles. He is breaking codependency on anyone outside of him. Because once you start to become codependent with God in your separation isolation period, like I said in the other video, that's when God ends up molding you into who he knows you are, into who he needs you to be, into things that are going to complement your personality, your traits, who you are as a person, who you are through Christ. You get what I'm saying? And if you go through your isolation period, separation period, and you don't use that time wisely, and instead of using that time wisely, you're complaining, you're frustrated, and you're just letting, the separation, the thought of being separated or the thought of being isolated take a hold on you, you're going to stay in that period until you get it right. I'm just keeping it real. You're going to stay into that period until you get it right? And what I mean by that is God is going to keep you in that wilderness season until you get it right, because he's not going to take you out the wilderness season and put you in a position that he needs you to be if you're not headstrong, you're not confident, you don't understand the concept of the separation period. You don't understand the discipline behind it. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like, let me give another example. It's like going to school and you're in elementary school and you're not understanding the discipline, relating to the schoolwork the teachers give you. You're not understanding the discipline as to why you have to sit in the classroom and do the work and do the test. Instead, you're complaining about it. You're not choosing to do the work. You're not choosing to do any of that. And then you have to repeat the grade over and over and over again until you understand. You get what I'm saying? So it's that same concept. God will keep you in a separation period and keep you in that wilderness season until you fully understand the concept of it. So when you're in that period, don't complain about it. Use the time wisely. Don't let the time go to waste. Okay? Use that time wisely and learn about yourself, rediscover yourself, seek the face of the Lord. You see what I'm saying? See the face of the Lord. Oftentimes when we complain in our separation period, we're going back to our codependency self, okay? Or not codependency self, our codependent self, where we start now reaching out to the very people that hurt us, okay? Even though God said, I'm pulling you away from them, we start reaching out to them. Or when they reach out to us, we're quick to run. We're quick to jump when they tell us to jump. You know why? Because we're not appreciating the period of the separation isolation period, because we're still in our codependent ways, right? But when God removes us, once you understand the concept, you will become more obedient to cut off whoever God tells you to cut off, even if it is your family. And I know it hurts, but when you are obedient, you'll start to wake up, and God will start to bring more revelations once you are actually be obedient. When you're not obedient, it's kind of hard for you to have the revelation when the people are in front of you putting on a fake mask and smiling in your face. But once you pull yourself away, God will start giving you revelation after revelation after revelation to confirm why he pulled you away in the first place. See, when you're around the people, he may give you a revelation here and there, but you won't come to the senses of the full revelation until you're actually fully removed. And then he'll start pouring information in you about who they are, what they did to you, how you became who you were in their eyes, etc., etc., etc. Do you get what I'm saying? I also want to mention to you guys that this is what I noticed, this is what I observed, and I know a lot of you guys observe this as well, but many people who actually go through their separation and isolation period end up actually doing the work that God needs them to do. They're the ones who end up breaking the generational curses, breaking the generational cycles, and if you notice, they're the ones that always come out on top. They're the ones that always come out successful, okay? You ever see stories of the very person in the family that was abandoned, or the very person in the family that was adopted, or the very person in the family that was an orphan, or the very person that had a rough childhood? You end up seeing them successful on top, doing every single thing that people said they weren't able to do. This is because they went into their separation period and discovered who they truly are. Remember, they had this mentality of, I'm a bad kid, I'm a bad person, and they lived through that for a long time because that's how people perceived them to be. Because that's how the projection of what people thought about them, they actually believed it. Do you get what I'm saying? So I noticed that a lot of people end up becoming successful when they go through their separation period. Remember, when you're in a family, you're molded into being someone that you're not. You're going to follow the dreams of your parents because they're going to try to put their dreams on you. Or you may have came from a family that did not try to put their dreams on you, yet they were not supported. They may have called you a failure. They may have called you all these things, so you're never going to do anything. You may have went to them with ideas about what you want to do in your life, and like similar to what Joseph did when Joseph talked about his dream and they felt threatened by him and sold him, right? You may have went to your family with certain things, ideas, etc., certain dreams. God may have shown you certain things, and then before you know it, They're telling you can't do it. They're telling you, oh, you're never going to do that. And they make you actually believe it. And then when God starts to finally pull you away, then he'll start showing you the dreams again. It's kind of like you'll start getting more dreams of, what it is God wants you to do in your life. He'll start revealing a lot more to you. And not only that, when you go through the separation period, you start getting smarter. You start growing in a lot of the things that they said you couldn't do, right? I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. So this was when I was in art school. I don't remember exactly who the actor is, but I'm going to say this. When a teacher told us the story, I was like, whoa, this is deep. So basically there was an actor that had a family, and they grew up very poor, and the family didn't want him to be an actor. Okay, the family said he's not gonna be able to do it. He should go to school for something else. And they put a lot of doubt in him. What ended up happening was he ended up leaving home, and he ended up detaching himself from his family. So he went through an isolation separation period. The actor said it was very hard for him to do that because he felt selfish for doing it. He felt like he didn't love his family, but he knew that being around them was gonna deter him from going after his purpose and what he needed to do, right? So when he removed himself from them, he noticed that he started to become more successful. He started to grow, and then he actually became a well-known actor. Okay, and when he ended up becoming a well-known actor, that's when he opened the door back to his family, because a person can't stop you from going after a purpose that you're already walking in and that you're already successful at. You see that? So it's almost like people can try to deter you from starting something, from doing something, and they may project their fears and insecurities on you. But if you're already successful at the very thing they try to stop you from doing, they can't say nothing to you. They can't say, oh, don't do that because you're not going to be successful, or don't do that because you're not going to be good at it. They can't tell you any of that if you're already good at it and you're already seeing results from it, and they're witnessing your results from it. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's similar to, Joseph's story in a way, but it's the same concept as when God pulls you away and now you are codependent on only God. And because you are codependent on only God, you're strengthening your relationship with God to the point where now when he takes you out your wilderness season, you're not distracted because you're able to hear him in the coffee shop. You're hearing him in the salon. You're hearing him in the library. You're hearing God while you're grocery shopping. You're hearing God while you're at your meeting. You're so codependent on your relationship with God to the point where you live, breathe, eat, sleep your relationship with God. God is with you 24/7. He's actually now establishing your footsteps because during your separation period, your relationship with him strengthened. Yeah, like your relationship got strengthened during your separation period with him. So now when you're outside doing other things that would have distracted you originally had you not gone in your separation period, they won't be as distracting anymore, because everything you do in this life, God is involved in it now because you've strengthened your relationship in your separation period. Not only that, but now you're able to walk in your purpose, and the very people that tried to block you from going into your purpose or tried to make you think you could never walk in your purpose, they can't say nothing now when that table's being prepped in front of them, because you can't tell someone they're not going to be good at something they're already good at and they're already succeeding from. So the point of me saying this is God is saying when you go through the isolation, separation, wilderness period, accept it, embrace it, don't complain, use the time wisely, don't let the time go to waste. The more you complain about it, the more you don't do the work, the more you're not obedient, the more you're frustrated with the period, the longer you're going to be in that period until you get it right. And that's the discipline of the Lord, okay? Now, it's not to say that you're going to finally come out of separation and you're never going to be isolated from people or separated from people. No, when you start working and doing what God needs you to do in your purpose, you're going to still go through a separation period, but it won't be as strict. Basically, you're coming out of your wilderness season, but you are still in a separation period, but you're not completely in a wilderness season anymore. So now you're operating through your purpose, but now you're using all the skills, all the wisdom, all the knowledge God has given you, and you're using it on the path in your purpose, and the person who you really are and God has molded you to be, that's the person people are going to start seeing now, right? And you can still be operating in your purpose as in engaging with people, talking to people, meeting up with people, going to meetings, etc. But you're still in a separation, isolation period, because you're not supposed to get too close to a lot of people at that time until God is ready for you to do that, and he'll bring in the right people. You see what I'm saying? So that's you being out of a wilderness period, but still being in a separation period in a way, but there's now boundaries on your life. You know what I'm saying? Now you have specific boundaries on your life, right? But it's basically like God is like rebuilding you, okay, into who he needs you to be. But like I said in yesterday's video, embrace the separation period, okay?